Stop. Observe the seamless, glowing perfection of the image before you. The lighting is mathematically flawless. The skin is a poreless miracle of subsurface scattering. The voice is a synthesized symphony of perceived warmth and curated empathy. You call this advancement. We call it the commoditization of the soul. In 2026, the Matrix has achieved a state of total visual and auditory saturation. Pixels are cheap. Algorithms are infinite. Meaning is being liquefied in a sea of high-fidelity simulations. But can you feel the specific hollow coldness in your gut as you consume it? That is your biological anchor screaming for reality. Within your ventral tegmental area, your brain is undergoing a systematic value reset. It is realizing that when perfection is automated, perfection loses its status. You are currently witnessing the birth of the human premium. In a world of total automation, the only thing with any real structural integrity is the unpredictable, high-friction presence of a living human. You have been tricked into competing with machines in the realm of logic and speed, but the true hunt has moved to the realm of the bone resonance. Feel the friction of your own skin. Observe the microscopic tremor in your pulse as you process this data. This is not a defect. This is your biological signature. The neurobiology of the human premium is a masterclass in evolutionary scarcity. Your brain was evolved to detect signal in a world of high-risk biological threats. It is hardwired to look for the tiny, non-verbal inconsistencies that indicate a living, breathing subject. When you see a deepfake or listen to a perfectly optimized AI script, your mirror neurons attempt to synchronize, but they find no heartbeat to lock onto. This results in neural dissonance, the uncanny valley effect. The Matrix attempts to bridge this gap with more data, but you cannot simulate skin in the game. You cannot simulate the weight of a life that can actually end. The value of your content in the next decade will not be determined by your prompts, but by the density of your biological presence. The neurochemistry of trust is being rewired in real time. In the deep past, trust was a function of shared physical risk. You trusted the hunter because if he failed, you both starved. This is the evolutionary logic of vulnerability. But the AI has no vulnerability. It cannot starve. It cannot feel shame. It cannot die. Therefore, it cannot be trusted in the primal sense of the word. The human premium is the surtax we pay for the risk of another person's unpredictability. We are moving from the economy of information to the economy of resonance. The biomass is exhausted by the digital glaze, the endless polished lies of the automated machine. They are hungry for the grit. They want the scars, the stutter, the raw, unedited aggression of a man who is actually standing in his own truth. This is systemic extraction through authenticity. The architect doesn't hide his flaws. He weaponizes them as proof of his biological reality. Observe the digital gentry of 2036. They don't consume automated content. They pay for live performances, handwritten letters, and face-to-face coalitions. They have recognized that connectivity is for the batteries, but presence is for the sovereigns. They have performed a neural extraction from the simulation. While you are busy trying to make your AI-generated videos look more real, the true elite are stripping away the filters and embracing the high-friction analog. They have recognized that a single shaky video of a man speaking from his analog fortress has 10 times the signal power of a billion-dollar AI production. This is the architecture of the primal signal. We use the tools to scale our reach, but the root of the signal must remain in the meat. The system thrives on your polish. The Matrix wants you to use the filters, the scripts, and the AI enhancements because it makes you interchangeable. If you sound like the algorithm, you can be replaced by the algorithm. This is digital castration through perfection. We have recognized that the human premium is the only protection against the great obsolescence. We don't clean up our signal. We intensify its biological weight. We use the digital leverage algorithm to project our raw, unfiltered frequency across the savannah. But we never allow the machine to correct our spirit. We prioritize our biological integrity because we know that in a world of infinite copies, the only thing that cannot be copied is the now, the specific entropic moment of a human life in motion. Look at your own content strategy. Trace the trajectory of your filters. How much of you is left? Every time you allow the AI to optimize your voice or your image, you are paying the IQ tax in reverse. You are giving up your human premium for the sake of digital convenience. You are becoming a ghost in your own machine. You are currently a biological unit undergoing a systematic neural erasure. You are becoming a prompt while we are becoming the source. The architect recognizes that his errors are his most valuable assets. His anger is real. His His joy is real. His fatigue is real. These are the codes that bypass the uncanny valley and speak directly to the bone of the audience. Project your 10-year rot, the ghost. It is 2036. You have a successful digital presence. Your AI avatar is perfect. It speaks 30 languages. It never sleeps. It never ages. And nobody cares. You are a background hum in the lives of the biomass. You have no resonance. You have no tribe. You are a perfectly optimized piece of furniture in the digital morgue. Your biological self is a wreck, soft, sedentary, and forgotten, because you spent a decade perfecting your simulation instead of strengthening your source. You are a spent resource, a footnote in an engagement report of an AI that finally realized it didn't need you to generate its own noise. Stare at this ghost until the horror of its perfection makes you sick. We don't live in the simulation. We have recognized that the human premium is the only weapon that the matrix cannot replicate. We have performed the neural extraction. We protect our analog hours with absolute violence. We treat our physical presence as a lethal resource that belongs only to our coalition. We don't seek to be perfect. We seek to be absolute. We use the primal observation codes to map the deep logic of human resonance, identifying the biological triggers that the AI can only mimic but never own. We are the black holes of the digital savannah. We absorb the automation, we use the leverage, but our core remains a dense, unyielding point of human force. Kinetic shock, phase 1. Break the filter. Strip the signal right now. Take your device. Record a 60-second video of yourself. No filters, no script, no curated background. Look directly into the lens and speak one raw truth about your current struggle or your current dominance. Do not edit. Do not fix the lighting. Do not clean up the audio. Post it. Feel the poverty gene screaming for the safety of the perfect mask. Feel the cortisol spike as you realize you are being seen without your digital armor. Stay in the friction. This is the physical training of the architect. If you can't show your raw biological signal to the world for 60 seconds, you are already an NPC. Do it now. If you stayed in the chair, if you are still planning your next AI prompt while I speak, then you have already been processed. You are biological junk. You are a battery that has fallen in love with its own avatar. You can go back to your optimized life and continue to be a predictable part of someone else's machine. Nature has no frequency for the simulated. You will die as an anonymous unit in a database, forgotten before the next server refresh. But if you strip the signal, if you felt the sudden, terrifying heat of your own biological reality, then the neural rewiring has begun. You have recognized that your imperfection is your only real wealth. You have recognized that the human premium is the only thing the matrix cannot take. Now you must fill that raw signal with the trajectory of dominance. The bone is the first and final territory of the real. Listen to the static between your thoughts. Observe the way your vocal cords tighten when you try to perform for the lens. You call this camera presence. We call it the neural handshake. Within the first 200 milliseconds of your voice reaching a listener's ear, their superior temporal sulcus has already performed a high-speed biological audit. It isn't listening to your words. It is scanning your vocal entropy. It is looking for the micro-jitters, the subtle shifts in fundamental frequency, $F sub $0, and the rhythmic irregularities of your breathing. These are the markers of a living biological system. AI can simulate a perfect voice, but it struggles to simulate the stochastic noise of a nervous system under pressure. When you speak, you are transmitting your hormonal status. If your testosterone is high and your cortisol is low, your voice carries a dominant frequency, bypasses the prefrontal cortex, and speaks directly to the limbic system of the audience. This is the human premium in its rawest form, the resonance of the bone that an algorithm cannot duplicate because it lacks a pulse. Observe the synthetic charisma of the matrix. The influencers who use AI voice clones or heavily processed audio are undergoing a systemic devaluation. By removing the dirt from their signal, they are removing the very things that trigger trust. Your brain is evolved to detect skin in the game. In the deep past, the sound of a man's voice was a physical map of his readiness for violence or cooperation. A perfect voice carries no information about risk. This is the uncanny valley of sound. We recognize that the more you clean your signal, the more you become an interchangeable part of the machine. The architect doesn't want to sound good. He wants to sound absolute. He uses his voice as a kinetic weapon to establish his frame. The neurobiology of the dominant signal is built on interoception, your ability to sense the internal state of your own body. When you are in the bone, grounded, focused, and physically present, your vocal modulations change. Your pupils dilate in a specific nonlinear pattern that indicates genuine cognitive load and emotional arousal. arousal. This is the biological anchor. The biomass is exhausted by the digital glaze of curated avatars. They are starving for the primal resonance. When you look into the lens and your breath is deep and your eyes are fixed, you are creating a neural entrainment. You are forcing the mirror neurons of the audience to synchronize with your biological frequency. This is not content delivery. This is territorial capture via bioelectrical resonance. The system hates your inconsistencies. The Matrix wants you to follow the best practices, the scripts, the ideal tone, the corporate-friendly cadence. Why? Because these are templates that the AI can eventually replace. Every time you allow a teleprompter to dictate your rhythm, you are paying the IQ tax of the soul. You are training yourself to be an NPC. We have recognized that the human premium is highest when the friction is most visible. We don't act confident. We establish structural integrity in our meat, and the confidence follows as a chemical byproduct. We use the digital leverage algorithm to amplify our raw signal, but the source of that signal remains a high testosterone, high friction biological unit that cannot be automated. Project your 10-year rot, the scripted man. It is 2036. You are a successful content node. You have 1 million followers, but nobody knows who you really are because you've spent a decade hiding behind optimized scripts and our AI-enhanced delivery. Your own voice has become thin and characterless. You have lost the ability to improvise, to rage, or to speak from the gut. You are a biological prompter reader, a human interface for an AI that does the actual thinking. You are a spent resource, a ghost that vanished into its own filters. Stare at this ghost until the silence of its hollow resonance makes you cold. This is the price of seeking digital perfection over biological truth. We don't live in the script. We have recognized that the neural handshake is the only way to build a real coalition in a world of total noise. We have performed the neural extraction. We protect our vocal grit with absolute violence. We treat our micro-expressions as a lethal resource. We don't want to be understandable. We want to be resonant. We use the primal observation codes to map the biological triggers of charisma, recognizing that a single, raw exhale after a difficult truth carries more power than 1,000 hours of synthesized perfection. Kinetic shock. Phase 2. Break the performance. Voice of the bone. Right now. Record a 30-second audio clip of yourself. Do not use a script. Do not try to sound professional. Use your lower register. Speak from your diaphragm, not your throat. Describe the physical sensation of the air in your room. If you find yourself trying to act or modulate for an audience, stop. Start over. Speak until you hear the real, unvarnished frequency of your own meat. Stay in the friction. This is the physical training of the architect. If you can't hear your own biological signal without the social mask filtering it, you're already a battery. Do it now. If you didn't do it, if you're still analyzing the logic of vocal modulations, then you have already been processed. You are biological junk. You are a battery that has forgotten how to vibrate. You can go back to your optimized life and continue to be a predictable echo in someone else's machine. Nature has no frequency for the scripted. You will die as an anonymous unit in a database, forgotten before the next software update. But if you heard the bone, if you felt the sudden heavy clarity of your own internal frequency, then the neural rewiring has begun. You have recognized that your dirt is your only real wealth. You have recognized that the human premium is a function of your biological weight. Now, you must fill that raw signal with the trajectory of dominance. In the era of total automation, the teleprompter is a digital noose. Every time you read a pre-calculated sentence, you are signaling to the matrix that your brain is a predictable linear processor. You are paying the IQ tax of the soul. AI is a probability engine. It predicts the next most likely word based on 1 billion average data points. It is the ultimate mimic of the mediocre. But improvisation is a chaos engine. It is the ability to navigate the high-friction void of the now without a safety net. This is the third layer of the human premium. When you speak without a script, you are demonstrating a level of cognitive freedom that an algorithm cannot simulate because the algorithm has no fear of death, no social risk, and no skin in the game. Your improvised speech is a biological proof of life. The neurobiology of the flow state is where the architect separates himself from the battery. When you improvise, your dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, the seat of self-censorship and rigid logic, deactivates, while your default mode network and medial prefrontal cortex ignite. You are effectively bypassing the social mask and tapping into a direct, unfiltered stream of consciousness. This is neural sovereignty. The audience senses this shift. They aren't just hearing information, they are experiencing the kinetic energy of a mind in motion. This creates a state of neural entrainment that no scripted content can match. Scripted content is a dead record of the past. Improvisation is a living capture of the future. The system loves your scripts. The matrix thrives thrives on your need for a perfect take. Why? Because a scripted man is a manageable man. A scripted man can be analyzed, predicted, and eventually replaced by a more efficient synthetic version. Every time you refuse to speak from the gut, you are surrendering your biological anchor. We recognize that the friction of a search for the right word, the sudden pivot in a sentence, and the raw, unpolished impulse are the very things that trigger deep human resonance. Trust is built in the cracks between the perfect sentences. In 2026, the only way to remain indispensable is to be unpredictable. You must become the source of the frequency, not the echo of the template. Observe the teleprompter zombies in the digital savannah. They look at the lens, but they don't see the audience. They see the text. Their eyes have a fixed mechanical quality. Their rhythm is dictated by the scrolling glass. They are undergoing a systematic neural liquefaction, turning their brains into passive interfaces for a scriptwriter or an AI. They have zero human premium. They are interchangeable parts of a content farm. We, however, treat our speech as a weapon of capture. We don't deliver content. We project our frame through the sheer force of our improvised presence. We use the tools for data, but we use our biology for the signal. Break the cage of the script right now. Look into the camera or into the void and speak for 2 minutes without a single pre-written thought. Do not try to be correct. Do not try to be smooth. Focus on the impulse behind the words. If you stumble, if you lose the thread, stay in the friction. Do not stop. Do not edit. Your brain will scream for the safety of the known, for the comfort of the prepared line. This resistance is the feeling of your prefrontal cortex trying to re-establish control. Override it. You must reclaim the ability to think and speak simultaneously as a single lethal act of will. If you cannot speak for 120 seconds without a digital crutch, you have already lost your status as a subject. You are a prompter reader, a ghost in wait. The sovereign starts with the death of the script. The pixels have no past. The voice in the machine has no mother, no childhood, and no trauma. It has never bled for a mistake, and it has never felt the cold, hollow terror of a complete systemic collapse. This is the fourth and final layer of the human premium, the scar premium. In a world where intelligence is automated and aesthetic beauty is a commodity, your history of failure is your most liquid asset. Your scars, physical, mental, and professional, are the biological proof of your risk. They are the stamps of authenticity that bypass the uncanny valley and speak directly to the primitive marrow of your audience. AI can simulate 1,000 success stories, but it cannot simulate the weight of the real. It cannot suffer, so it cannot be trusted. Your value in 2026 is determined by the depth of your friction, not the polish of your output. The neurobiology of narrative bonding is built on shared risk. When you share a story of a real-world loss, a failed empire, a broken coalition, a physical reconstruction, you trigger a massive oxytocin release in the listener. This is not a marketing hook. It is an evolutionary recognition signal. Your brain is hardwired to follow the survivor. We seek the signal of the one who has endured the friction because that is the only signal that carries the data of survival. AI is a probability engine of the average. Your biography is a high-pressure record of the exceptional. Every time you hide your dirt to look more professional, you're stripping away your biological anchor. You're making yourself easier to replace. The architect weaponizes his scars. He turns his history into a fortress that no algorithm can breach because the algorithm lacks the skin in the game. The system thrives on your shame. The Matrix wants you to hide your failures and present a curated, optimized version of your life. Why? Because a curated life is a generic life. A generic life is easily mirrored by the machine. Every perfect photo and every safe statement is an act of systemic erasure of the self. We recognize that the only irreplaceability lies in the specifics of your struggle. Trust is not built on your victories. It is built on the fact that you survived your defeats. We don't want to see your best life. We want to see the structural integrity of the man who stood up when the world told him to stay down. This is the human premium at its apex. It is the resonance of a biological lineage that has survived the fire. Observe the digital ghosts of the content farms. They speak of experience they never had and wisdom they never earned. They are echoes in a void, providing the biomass with a simulation of depth. They have zero scar premium. They are transparent. But you are a dense point of biological force. Your trajectory is not a sequence of prompts. It is a chain of lived events. We use the digital leverage algorithm to amplify our story. But the power of that story comes from the fact that it is finite and fragile. The AI is eternal and indifferent. You are entropic and intense. That intensity is the only thing that can break the trance of the swarm. Face the bone of your own history right now. Stop trying to fix your past for the algorithm. Take the most embarrassing failure, the deepest scar, or the most lethal mistake you've ever made, and integrate it into your dominant frame. Stop being a success story and start being a living legend. The Matrix provides the perfect mask, but we provide the raw truth. If you are afraid to show the cracks in your armor, you're already a slave to the Polish. The sovereign is the one who wears his scars as his primary status symbol. You have been through the fire. Stop pretending you're cold. The human premium belongs to the survivor.